Hi, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to start with standard 3.4 this week, properties of numbers. So standard 3.4, I can simplify algebraic expressions using the properties of numbers. So we have a bunch of vocabulary terms to figure out here. So first off, we're going to talk about the commutative property. Commutative property. Changing the order of the values you are adding or multiplying does not change the sum or product. All right. So commutative, let's start with kind of making sure that we know what that word means. So the word commutative comes from commute. If you know you travel from your job, like if you have a commute, if your parents have a commute, you travel from your house to your job and from your job to your house. You are changing the order of places you're going, but it's the same trip, right? Just different directions. So here's an example. If we're going to do addition, this is the concept that 3 plus 4 equals 4 plus 3. This is something you guys know. You guys know that they both make 7, right? This is not new information. You guys have that, all right? Same thing with multiplication. We could do 3 times 4 or 4 times 3. Both of them make 12. All right? Order doesn't matter for adding and multiplying. For subtraction or division, it does matter, so that does not work. But the commutative property works for adding and multiplying, and changing the order of values does not change the sum or the product. Next, associative property. Changing the grouping of the values you are adding or multiplying does not change the sum or product. Grouping. Remember, an associate is somebody that you are connected with, like working, right? So we're talking associative property, who the numbers associate with doesn't change the sum of the product. Here's an example. We could put the quantity 1 plus 2 plus 3 is the same thing as 1 plus the quantity 2 plus 3. Right? If we follow order of operations, we would have 3 plus 3 to make 6. Here we'd have 2 plus 3 to make 5, plus 1 makes 6, right? Doesn't matter how these are grouped. If we're adding or subtracting, it makes the same thing. And then same thing with multiplication. We could do 1 times 2 to get 2, and then multiply that by 3 to get 6. Or I could do 2 times 3 to get 6, and multiply that 1 to stay 6. Okay? Remember, it's going to be associative property when you see the parentheses, right? You want to rule out some other stuff to make sure, but I would always start, if I see parentheses, I would start with the associative property. Next, we have the identity property of addition. The sum of any number and 0 is the original number, right? If you add 0 to anything, you know that it makes the same number. 0 plus 3 makes 3, or 3 plus 0 makes 3. All right, so adding 0 is the identity property of addition. It keeps its own identity. And then lastly, we have the identity property of multiplication. The product of any number and 1 is the original number. You guys know this as well. 1 times 3 equals 3. 3 times 1 equals 3. None of that's any new to you. All right, we just have to kind of try to have ways to keep them organized. So let's see what that looks like here in examples. Name each property shown. Here we have 4 examples. We're going to talk about which one they are. Example A, we have 8 times 9 equals 9 times 8. The first thing I want to ask myself is, are they the same numbers? Both sides of the equal sign. Yeah. Are they in the same order? No. When the order is changed, that makes it commutative. Commutative property. Commutative property. All right, B. 4 times the quantity x times y is the same thing as the quantity 4 times x times y. If there's parentheses, I told you to check to make sure it's not associative. So, do we have the same order on both sides, but just grouped differently? Yeah, right? 4xy, we just have the parentheses shifted over. That is associative. And then we have b times 1 equals b. Well, anything times 1 is the identity property of multiplication, and c plus 0 equals c, that is the other one, identity property of addition. All right, so you're looking for these patterns, got to find the patterns. There's 4 more examples. I think we use each one once again here. 1 plus 2 plus 3 is the same thing as 1 plus 3 plus 2. That is commutative. That's right. That one's a little trickier because there's one extra one, but it's showing a change in order. Question F, 3 plus 4 plus 5, or excuse me, the quantity 3 plus 4 plus 5 is the same as 3 plus the quantity 4 plus 5. 3, 4, 5 is our order. Our parentheses shift from the left to the right. Associative property of addition. Plus 0 is identity property of addition. Times 1 is identity multiplication. Identity property of multiplication. The trick here is that we don't want to see the plus 0 on both sides. So we have the plus 0 over here, but we don't want it on this side, right? Here we have the times 1 on this side, but we don't want it on that side, okay? Otherwise, it might just be one of the other ones with some numbers that are kind of tricky, okay? All right. So you're really looking for those points. You've got to look for, again, I would come to the live session. Make sure you come to the live session for this because we want to drill that in your head more. But you're looking for parentheses for associative, change in order for commutative, plus 0 on one side for identity property of addition, and times 1 on one side for identity property of multiplication. All right? Here's your homework. The black lines and red circles are answers. There was 3 other options here that we could have had, but we didn't want you to deal with those, so we just filled these in. So those are the answers there. What you are going to do is you're going to pick your answer to these questions, and it splits everything up by addition or multiplication. So we have the first 2 columns are both associative. So if you see that the order changes, right, from one side to the other, then it's going to be one of these 2. You just have to figure out which operation it is. So if it's addition, it's the first column. If it's multiplication, it's the second column. Right, that's here. The next 2 here. Nope, sorry. Here is commutative of addition and commutative of multiplication, right? Commutative. So if the I said it backwards. Sorry. Associative is the grouping. Commutative is the order. So for associative, if the parentheses move, right, or any other grouping symbol moves, that's going to be one of these 2. If it's just the order that changes, it's this one. And then if it's plus 0 or times 1, it's going to be those 2 there. Okay. All right, and then you're going to mark it here, and then you're going to go down at the bottom and put the letters in order from what you saw. Oops. Oh, maybe it's not on here. That was weird. All right. So just mark your letters, okay? And then the extra practice is just more of these. And again, I would try it. This can be very confusing. This is probably not something you've talked about, so give it a shot, okay? All right, thank you.